Ta-da. Welcome to the November 12th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Carol, aye.
Michael, I.
Eric here.
Then here,
Amanda here.
please rise. I pledge allegiance to
The United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll let you know when the folks in. Approval of the regular agenda. Has everybody read this evening's agenda?
Yep.
May I have a motion, please?
I move that we accept this agenda presented to us today.
May I have a second?
My second.
Motion by Daryl, second by Amanda. All in favor?
Aye.
Has everybody read the minutes of October 29th, 2025? And are there any changes or questions or anything? No?
I have no changes or questions.
Are you in here? I have none.
I have nothing.
With that, may I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Of
All
front page.
29th, the 29th.
of October 8th.
No,
The 29th.
29th.
Where do you see that?
Under approval of minutes.
All right, that's October 29th. Sorry.
I'll second it.
Motion by Michael, second by Daryl. There. All in favor?
I
Thank you. Declaration of conflicts of interest. Are there any this evening? There's not a John, and I don't know of anybody who should. So therefore, we'll skip that. Public comment. There is nobody in the audience. Is there anybody on Zoom? We'll close public comment. Special presentations. We have none.
No, we do. That's the only thing on the agenda.
Huh?
We do. That's the only thing on the agenda.
Oh, that's considered a special presentation tonight. Okay, I apologize. And is Michael here?
He is not. We're texting him right now.
Should we wait for just a minute or two?
Yes,
Okay.
kind of important.
Been working on a song I could start singing.
You're writing a song or you're just practicing one?
I will say this, I have to brag. So I'm a big Parrot head. And my son has always had Jimmy Buffett in the background. He's become a bigger Jimmy Buffett fan than I am. He knows, like, every day when he comes from school, he's humming some tune or. He's like,
Father likes him.
I should start doing that because if I get up in the morning and I don't talk to people now as often as I used to, my voice is very hoarse.
Hmm.
So somebody said I should walk around the house singing. I'm like, well, at least nobody else would have to listen.
Well, while we wait for Mike, the only item on our agenda tonight is really thanks to Amanda, because you had asked months ago, maybe last year, when you knew that Molloy was coming our way at some point, the Eagle County School District Molloy Park subdivision application, which is a live application. We will not be discussing the merits of that. It hasn't even gone before you, but it's coming your way. So because we didn't have much else to present tonight, we wanted to try to get some more midterm forward code stuff in front of you, but we weren't ready to do that. We thought this was absolutely the best time to give you a bit of a primer on, or at least educate you on the 2011 annexation of the school district property into town, what went along with that, how, if at all, that relates to your pending review of the subdivision file that they've applied for. So that's really what we're doing tonight. And hopefully that's helpful. That most of that or all of that agreement, including the ordinances that annexed two different parcels into town, were included in your packet. The annexation agreement that lays out the terms of what the school district is on the hook for and what the town was supposed to agree to. How that relates to what is called district or non-district development. So the district would be their own facilities for their own purposes. Non-district development could include other development by other developers. So it looks like Mike is here. Thank you. That's awesome. So that's the introduction, and good evening, Mike.
Hi, Mike. You're muted, Mike.
Hello.
Hi.
A little bit louder, please.
Hello, everyone.
There we go.
So Mike, I was just bringing everybody up to speed as to why we're talking about this tonight. And I was giving Amanda credit because she had asked some questions a long
I have
time.
my questions because we have to score.
Yep, yeah. But the point being, I think you rightly said, hey, I know this is out there. Can we at least understand what that annexation and zoning way back in 2011, what is that? How does it relate, if at all, to our pending review of the Eagle County School District preliminary plat that's coming your way on December 10th? So with that, Mike, I don't know if you have any introductory words on that, or if we want to just open it up to questions. The annexation ordinances and the agreement were all in the packet. So annexation ordinances 1 and 2, series 2011, as well as ordinance number 3, which was the annexation agreement. Those were all in the packet for the planning commission members. And ordinance 4 establishing zoning. Thank you.
All right. Well, why don't I give a 5-minute intro to these approvals because I may be able to answer a number of questions preemptively. So some members on the P&Z were living in town back in 2011 when these occurred, or when these approvals were adopted. Essentially, the town's water treatment plant was on school district property. And the school district wanted to move forward with knowing that it could develop for both what are called district and non-district purposes, portions of their property. And the town was interested in gaining ownership of the property that the water treatment plant sits on. And this predates me being the town attorney, so I wasn't personally involved in these negotiations, but going back, looking at the documents and having spoken with a few people who were on council at the time, I've got, that have a little bit of background. So historically there was the school and then the teacher housing on that property. Many of those uses go back to the 1960s. And there is in fact an agreement, it's referenced in the annexation agreement from 1964, in which the city or the town agreed to provide water service for school district purposes on their property. At the time, the property was not annexed. It was an extraterritorial water service. And so the town actually charged the school district like 1.25 times what in-house residents were charged or in-town residents were charged for their water. But the town provided water service, but did not have municipal jurisdiction over the property. So again, the school district in 2011 realizes that its needs are changing and that there probably will be some district uses of the property going forward, but also they're sitting on a big asset that could be developed and the school district could make some money and put that in, I assume, to other school district priorities. And so they approach the town and they say, well, we would like to come to an arrangement where we would annex into the town to where the town would guarantee a certain amount of water service for the property, and that the school district would then have certain, I don't want to say guarantees, but bookends on what development they could eventually do. So generally speaking, as a bit of background, when a school district decides that it wants to do something for its own governmental purposes, like build a school or a ball field or something like that, They have a very minimal interaction with the local municipality. They have what are called as a government entity, they're not technically regulated by the municipality on land use issues. They do have to come in for what's called a location and extent review. If you've read the annexation agreement, it's not specifically mentioned by that name, but it references the statute in there that for district facilities that they may choose to develop up there in the future, that they have to go through, or that they don't have to go through the normal land use process. They only have to go through location and extent review. But because the district knew that there was going to be some and potentially a majority of the uses that are characterized in the annexation agreement as non-district uses, they agreed as part of the annexation that they would, for all non-district uses, go through the full Minturn land use process. And in doing so, they wanted to know what types of uses they could make. And so there is ordinance number 4, series 2011, which is a zoning ordinance. Pretty standard. It doesn't really read like a PUD with a lot of flowery language. Rather, it establishes 3 zone districts, mixed use, recreation, open space, and public facilities. It talks about lot size requirements and setback requirements for that apply to those various zone districts. Really, the only one that matters is the mixed use zone district, because that's the developable property. The public facilities property today is owned by the town of Minturn, and that's really not part of what you're considering for the school district. And then the recreation open space parcel, that there's no development being requested on that property at this time. And in fact, if you look at the zoning ordinance and the use table, you'll see that pretty much nothing is allowed in the recreation and open space zone district. So we're dealing with the mixed use zone district. There's a dimension table, there is a use table. That use table includes a lot of residential style uses, single family, multifamily, accessory apartments and dwellings. Does include some overnight lodging, public facilities such as theaters and rec centers are allowed in that zone district. And then school facilities are uses by right in that zone district. So that's the zoning for the property. And as part of your consideration of the subdivision plan, you should be evaluating that plan and its consistency with the zoning that was enacted, which, I mean, right now they haven't specifically said how much multifamily or single family that they intend to develop up there. And Madison, correct me if I misstate any of this, but they're just wanting to create lots. Those lots then might be used as single family lots, or they might come in at a later time for site plan review with the town if they choose to build multifamily on it.
Hey, Mike.
So, yes, go ahead.
The application from the school district does specify a range of units for single family, duplex, and multifamily, and their site plan corresponds with that. So they have given us that information.
But we're not discussing that tonight.
We are not.
So we're only discussing the elements in here, so,
Correct.
right? Okay.
Done. Thank you.
I just want to keep us clean.
Yep, you're clean.
I appreciate the help there. So then the annexation agreement, kind of the other side of this, is the annexation agreement really by means of discussing how much water service the town agrees to provide within the school district subdivision, defines the cap on the density that the school district can ultimately develop. And it includes both district facilities and non-district facilities. And so that number is 150 SFEs of water service. And the annexation agreement contains a little bit of a formula as to how to determine the amount of an SFE that is less than kind of a single family house, but they're entitled to up to 150 single family equivalents on the property. And essentially what happened is the town did a trade of the land for agreeing to provide this water service without a separate water rights dedication for up to 150 single family equivalent uses. Now, the district does have to pay what are called system improvement fees. Those are so not specifically related to the water right, but related to the facilities that provide the water to the property. Town has a fee schedule about how those are calculated. School district gets grandfathered in for the existing development that was out there. But for development in excess of what historically existed out there, they will pay the town system improvement fees, but they do not pay water right dedication fees for the 150 single family equivalents. That is less of a hit than it sounds to the town's water system, which is, I think you all know, is somewhat impaired. And the reason is that the district owns a water right on Cross Creek called the Arminda Ditch. And they are required under the annexation agreement to use the Arminda Ditch for all outdoor irrigation on the property. So essentially, the town is providing water for in-house uses, and the Arminda Ditch will then be used for all outdoor irrigation purposes. The annexation agreement has some kind of duplicative language about the types of uses that can be made on the property. I think the controlling document there as to uses by right really is the zoning ordinance. I would pay far more attention to that than descriptions of what can or can't be done on the property in the ADA, other than, it dovetails with the zoning ordinance, which is there's a hard prohibition on industrial boneyard and kind of unsightly land uses. Those cannot be they cannot be put on any property, which includes the town's property. I think that's why that language is in there, is the school district didn't want the town putting its boneyard up at the water plant. Section 4.4, this really has the few provisions about how the property can develop that would be considerations that you as the P&Z would use in reviewing the proposed development plan. 4.41A, no separate real estate dedications or fees in lieu thereof shall be required for parks, recreation, and or open space in excess
That's
of
not an
that.
ordinance. Is he in ordinance 4 or is he in ordinance 2?
This is on page 28 of the packet.
Okay.
Thank you, Scott.
So
So
it's ordinance 3.
yes, I apologize. Yeah, I'm now looking at ordinance 3, and it's on page 9 of that document.
Where do you want to go?
Are you ready?
Yep. Okay, so 4.41A, no separate real estate dedications or fees in lieu for parks, recreation, and open space. You will see in the comments provided by the town attorney's office to the developer, which I assume are in the packet, that we have raised as a question the maintenance of the existing rec facilities. And the reason why I believe this provision is in the annexation agreement is there's a lot of recreation facilities out there to begin with, the ball field and the passive recreation of hiking trails and cross-country ski trails. But I've raised, and I think the developer really needs to go on the record as to what they plan to do with the existing rec facilities, because if you're bringing a bunch of families into this environment, yes, right now there's a lot of recreation facilities to be used, but I think that there needs to be a commitment that those facilities are going to be maintained in the future as they bring people into this environment.
Hey, Mike,
Um,
none of the referral comments or anything are in the packet. We haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay, well,
This
you
is just
will
a-
when you
Yes.
get to reviewing things. Yeah.
So, but we shouldn't be talking about any of the referral, no.
No.
So we just should be asking questions on each of one of these ordinances to Mike.
Yeah,
Right.
this is legal advice about the agreement. Yep. Let me just kind of quickly go through the remainder of these. 4.43 talks about roads. This is maybe less of a concern for the P and Z, but for the town is that some of the roads will be private, some will be dedicated to the town for town maintenance. Town maintenance, of course, costs the town money. So it's something we're always concerned about. It's addressed in subsection 3. Subsection 4, this is a challenging paragraph to interpret. It talks about in the event that the district determines that its recreational area needs are diminished based upon the future district development or change of district usage in the existing facilities, the parties will meet and confer about possible transfer of use and maintenance of the district rec areas for town usage. I think what this is if they conclude there's just not going to be a school up there, and there's not really a need for ball fields and some of the rec amenities that exist that were built as part of that school complex. And if they're going to phase that out, then I think this creates an obligation that they come talk to the town about the dedication of those facilities to the town. But as of today, I don't think that issue has been raised in any of the materials that we've reviewed. And that really is it. I mean, there's a lot of provisions about water. A couple of years ago, as the school district was getting ready to submit its application, the town had its then water attorney, Susan Ryan, do kind of a deep dive on the water provisions and to work with the developer to try and flesh out a few ambiguities. I was looking back through my file today, and Madison, if you'll flag that email I sent over to you so we can follow up on that. There may be a little bit of follow up on the water side, but again, that I don't think that's really something that the P&Z needs to factor into its analysis about compliance of the proposal with the agreement in place. That's a water issue. We'll work that out separately.
Hey, Mike,
But I'm happy to answer any questions that the P&Z may have.
Mike, since you brought it up, the work that we've done with Susan in the past, and I know this is not necessarily germane to the Planning Commission, but the agreement is specific to 150 SFEs. But I thought we had arrived at 120 was the real number, plus the 18 or 17 that have existing taps out there. And that's how the district arrived at 138 units for their application.
That sounds correct. Again, that was work that Susan was doing for us. And I think that I don't believe it ever got brought over the finish line, but I think there's an agreement between the school district and the town to that effect that we need to Madison, we need to get that over the finish line. So.
Okay, well, here's Mike, excuse me, but I like to run the meeting by one section at a time, go down the row, have everybody give their answers to that section so we know we covered it, and then go back to the beginning.
Sure.
So we're going to start with ordinance number 1, and let Amanda start, please.
And Mike, I've read this ordinance probably more than my peers on the council or on the commission have, because I read it several times now. So just bear with me. Can you, as our attorney, remind us if 100% ownership of that land transfers from the district to somebody else, what happens with the annexation agreement does it remain in place or can it be renegotiated?
The town can renegotiate the annexation agreement if it wants to. The annexation agreement, the plat and the zoning, they're all of record. And they would follow, those obligations and restrictions and rights would follow the property from owner to owner.
Okay, and then if it is just separating single tracks within the zone districts, specifically the non-district development tracks or plots or, pieces, can those also be renegotiated or they still fall underneath the annexation agreement?
To make sure I understand your question, does the town have flexibility if it chooses to renegotiate? I would say yes, any of these provisions could be renegotiated if that's what the council chose to do.
But Amanda, are you asking that by virtue of the district applying for a subdivision or subdividing property
They
that
sell the
was,
parcels off.
uh-huh,
Then does that new owner come in or are they still underneath the same annexation agreement? And
Yeah.
because of some of the other provisions with the non-district means that you couldn't agree like municipal code versus zone, et cetera,
understood. Yeah.
density, all of that.
My understanding is that the annexation agreement specifically covers district and non-district development within the annexation agreement.
Regardless of ownership.
Correct.
Well,
Right.
but with a caveat, which is to say, I mean, I guess I don't want to be bound to this, but my gut reaction is as the town attorney, if the school district sold a portion of this property to Eagle County, and Eagle County came in and said, "Oh, we want the right to use this under the district development provisions in the ADA," I might take the position that the district development rights are specific to the school district and non-transferable.
Okay, and then similarly, if the district sold the non-district parcels to a for-profit developer selling at market price, would the annexation agreement apply to those parcels?
That one's easy. The answer is yes.
Okay, thank you. So then my next question, I'm just gonna go through all of,
Still in ordinance one,
we're still in ordinance 1.
go ahead.
My next question is that a lot of these decisionings in ordinance 2, 3, and 4 were based on this annexation impact report from 2011. That was not included in our materials. Is that still available for us to see? And that's in, it's like the 4th whereas.
If that,
Not density impacts, all of that was based on this annexation impact report. So I'm just wondering if that's available for us.
so annexation impact reports are a requirement under state statute for annexations. That's at 31-12-108.5. Again, because these matters predated my being the town attorney, I don't have a copy of that report on my system. The town may have that. I mean, I would think that would have been part of the packet when ordinance number 1 was considered by the town council, but whether we have full packets from that time is, I don't know the answer to that question.
I couldn't find it.
I'm happy to look, but
I think that'd be important to confirm like what that impact report looked like, because it does apply to the rest of what's in this packet. That's it for me for ordinance 1.
Can I just add one thing to that? Is there a time when an impact report
Runs out.
runs out with the growth of the city over a 14-15 year period?
well, it was specific to the annexation. As Mike
Yeah.
said, it's required by state statute and it's a pretty kind of boilerplate type of report. And it has, everything to do with at the time of annexation, what the existing public infrastructure is to serve the development, what public infrastructure might be impacted by the annexation. Mike, jump in anytime, but I mean, that's my understanding and use of those types of reports. But
And Amanda, I would imagine that Eagle County's attorney, or not, I'm sorry, not the county, the school district's attorney would argue, I'm not taking a position on this today, but that he would probably argue that the provisions or the information in the annexation impact report like merged into the annexation ordinance number 1 and the agreement number 3. And if it's not specifically called out in one of those documents, it's not a binding condition. So
Okay. So if it's not specifically called out in 3, which is where you and I are on the same page with leading to, like, and we'll get to 3 questions, but I think that's where I had additional questions and why I was hoping to see that annexation impact report that drove some of the decisioning and ordinance.
And I think, yeah, I think the impact report, to the degree there's an ambiguity in the annexation agreement, I think the impact report could shed light on that to help us understand the context. But again, I don't want you to leave with the impression that the annexation impact report is somehow an independently enforceable document on the development. Yeah.
Your turn, Eric.
I was just reading the state constitution so just can you clarify this on the state constitution in section 30, article 2, so the district owns the land, which means that there's not requirements that are in, it's A, B, and C. So C means that they 100% own the land, then it doesn't have to go through the voting period through the public or the town itself.
Man, you didn't, I was not given forewarning we were going to talk about the Colorado Constitution. Give me
Mike, welcome to our world.
The teacher.
all right, you said Article 30?
Section 30 of Article 2.
Okay.
I think it's A, B, C, and then C, A.
Because this did not go through a vote.
No, but it would have to unless it was 100% owned. I believe that's what the Constitution says, but
Yes.
Colorado Constitution, right to vote or petition on annexation enclaves. No unincorporated area may be annexed. One of the following has been met. The question of annexation has been submitted to the vote of the landowners and the registered electors. The meeting, the annexing municipality has received a petition for annexation signed by persons comprising more than 50%, and the area is surrounded by the municipality. So C doesn't apply because we didn't have them surrounded when this happened. Well, maybe we did. No, the Forest Service is on the backside. What happened, and this is what happens, and I got to tell you, 99.5% of all annexations it's B. We got a petition for annexation from the school district, and if we went back and looked in either 2010 or 2011 under resolutions, there's probably what's called a resolution of substantial compliance that was passed, which would have come to the council. And it says, so under the Annexation Act, there's a separate section of the state statutes that deals with annexation. And I don't know, there's 5 or 6 requirements. None of them are very hard to meet. One of which is you have to have 1/6 contiguity to another part of town, which they had here. And if you meet those 5 or 6 criteria, and the town gets a petition, and the town then says, we find you're in substantial compliance with the act, that gives the town essentially the jurisdiction to to annex the property by ordinance, which that's ordinance number 1. And there's an annexation map and then the annexation agreement. And once that happens, the remedy on an annexation issue is in most cases a referendum. And you have to bring that referendum within a specific amount of time if you want to, like as citizens, if you're like, this was a terrible annexation for Minturn and you want to back out that annexation. The way to have done that would have been in 2011 to file a petition for a referendum and put it on the ballot.
So what are the, okay,
So was that publicly aware to the
was that
people?
noticed?
Yeah, was that notice to the people?
The referendum portion of it, because this was definitely noticed.
It's not, that's just the law. What would have been noticed is that there was a petition for annexation that was to be considered by the town council, and that it would have had it would have been on an agenda 3 times. The resolution of substantial compliance, and after that resolution of substantial compliance, they publish in the newspaper for 5 consecutive weeks. And then you have the ordinance approving the annexation. So I want to look real quick at ordinance number 1.
Like June 20, ordinance 2011.
Because I think ordinance number 1, Jay's pretty good at putting the receipts on the back.
Yeah, it's 2021, I think. June 6, 2020.
Yeah, and so there's the page 6 shows that it was published in the newspaper for the annexation. So, I mean, those are all things that happened in 2011, and if I'm reading between the lines, what I will tell you is there's not a technicality 14 years later to somehow back out this annexation.
Anything else? Michael?
Yes.
No,
We're still on ordinance 1, Mike.
remember ordinance 1.
Okay, ordinance 1, just say something real quick, is 1, to my understanding, when we made this deal, whenever we made this deal, part of the reason that we made this deal is somehow or another, however it came about, was because of the fact that our water plant was sitting on school district property, and we needed to make a deal to clear our water plant to still be our water plant. Is to what I recall, sort of how it came about. What triggered it, I have no idea. But that's what I recall what happened there. Okay. That being said, we're in this agreement that apparently we agreed upon. And you know, a lot of it, you know, if we like it or not, will we do it again? Who knows? But so that being said, in regards to number 1, I went through and read through this a lot, Lynn. So I have to figure out what I have. I consolidated it down to like 8 or 9 questions. That, you know, when we're done talking, I'd like to give a copy to staff so you can think about it, because some of my questions, I think some of them are good. I think it's something that we want to think about and that we don't specifically have to answer today, because otherwise we're going to cream you with 500 legal questions that some of them are really good points that all of us probably have. And for the first time, I consolidated mine to 1 page, which Scott and Madison would love if I did that every planning and zoning meeting. That being said, the trick is out of my questions, I got to try to consolidate.
Is there anything in there for ordinance number 1?
Yeah, I believe that the majority of this applies in the ordinance number 1. Half of my questions.
Let's do the half that relates, please.
And then there might be a question that doesn't apply anywhere.
The big piece of it is ordinance number 3, just as FYI.
The worst piece of it is section 4, but, anyway. So, basic question, do we know this basic question, just in general? My first 2 questions are basic questions, wherever it is. Okay. Do we know is a complete submittal going to be presented to us when it comes in front of us, or is it going to be piecemeal?
No, we're not going to talk about that.
Okay.
Not ordinance.
Then let's go right here. The agreement signed, section 1, notes the owners own 100% of the property. Page 15 of the agreement. Has there been any claims from any other parties towards this property since the agreement was signed?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I have more on that. Go ahead. Let's start with this. That's what we're going to talk
Not
about.
that I'm aware of.
So the Crave, the school, the Eagle River, water, like I said, some of these questions are pretty specific.
and-
but if you
and-
want,
Steve,
Excuse me,
I
1
want
minute,
to
Mike.
I want to stress, and I appreciate Scott trying to guide this. So, the consideration of a subdivision is a quasi judicial matter, meaning that when you're trying to evaluate if the facts as presented in the application meet the requirements in your code and in the annexation agreement. That needs to be done in a hearing. One is, I believe, has been noticed. And those factual based questions need to be asked and answered in that hearing. And I will make sure that I am available to participate in that. So you have counsel to ask questions of, but you can in advance get legal advice, which is what we're doing today, about the specific language in these documents. So as Scott has alluded to, questions about what the applicant has or has not done and what's in the materials, you need to wait until the hearing on those materials to get answers to those questions. But we can talk about the language in these documents right now.
I have a follow-up question with what you just said in that regard. Am I allowed to give a copy of this to staff to let you review to see if any of it is beneficial to the town, not in discussion with us per se, I guess is the word, but just in general?
It would then become a part of the public record and would be put in the packet.
I don't have any issue with that.
If you
And
want to do
is
that,
now the
then-
time he can do that, or would it be better to wait till the application is presented?
Well, the application is pending, so if
I just think I have
Hold on, Michael.
very
Michael, please
small
let-
things that you might want to think about. And it's not in regards, I don't think we can really fight half this application, because I think we signed this deal. And I think that some deals are good, some deals are bad, but the fact is that we signed the deal.
Michael,
This, this,
Providing an application, that's
This-
the whole issue.
yeah, just hold on. This is, we are,
Everybody. Michael, you were stating a response to whether or not this should wait until application, if I am correct.
yeah, so
That's the case, then we should quit
I
talking
would-
about it.
I would jump in with 2 comments. Again, questions about the application should wait until the application is pending. Once you've read the app or is noted, there's a hearing, you've gotten the packet. If you then have questions about what's in the packet, Michael, that you want to then give to Scott and Madison so that we can be prepared on that, that's fine. But those questions will be given to the applicant as well, because it's a quasi judicial public hearing and they have the right to see all materials related to the application.
and Mike, the only other thing I was going to jump in and say, and correct me if I'm wrong, just from a simplistic standpoint, that this meeting today, your presence here is educational and answer questions about decisions that were made 16 years ago. We're not relitigating whether or not it's a good thing or a bad thing, or if there were things that we should think about. In my mind, there's very limited relationship in some respects between the annexation agreement or even the annexation ordinances themselves and the file that's coming in front of you. Other than the fact that the annexation agreement is specific to put the district on notice that it just because there's an annexation agreement and certain things were agreed to doesn't mean that it doesn't have to come through our process and follow our code, specifically the subdivision and zoning codes, which Mike has already touched on, which we will evaluate as part of our staff review of their application. Not based on whether it is good or bad relative to an annexation agreement, but based on our code and our standards for a preliminary plat. That's it.
But you understand that I'm not asking anything about the application
Uh-huh.
or what's gonna be proposed
Yeah.
pretty much at all. That first question was just a general question,
Mhm.
but the other stuff that questions / thoughts that I'm referring to are pretty much relevant to, it's not irrelevant to the specific application,
Mhm.
but I think that it's the reason that I marked this question / thoughts is because of the fact that I think that it's, like if I came in and turned it in to Rod, the town manager or something, as a citizen, I don't think that it doesn't change any thought. I don't even have it down there in regards to that. Like I said, we signed the deal. I believe that the deals we sort of have to keep a deal, So it's just thoughts that I think some of them are just thoughts on our water plan. Okay, and some of them are thoughts that I don't know if Mike thought about in regards to our water plan. So it's.
Hold on.
We,
ahead, Malcolm.
we can, my recommendation is if you have questions about language in these agreements, we noticed this, we can talk about that. You're getting information from the town attorney today. If you want to go kind of beyond that, my recommendation is to wait until the packet has been sent out by staff in advance of the public hearing. And if you want to give the staff a list of questions you would like us to be prepared to elaborate on, you can do that. Just know we have to make that available to the applicant as well.
I took that under consideration, and I think I would like just to give staff just to look at, just in general, in regards to that. I don't, in regards to this other, I think that's easiest. Just for.
So,
I don't think you should. So
Go ahead.
again, to what Mike said, is Michael, you should wait until the application has actually gone into the packet before submitting those questions to staff.
Some of these questions aren't really relevant to the.
Application.
it's relevant to this. Ordinance number 1,
Ordinance number 1.
strictly relevant to ordinance number 1. That's where we're at right now.
Well, I thought that I thought we got into the 100% ownership, claims of the property, all that in regards to that. But apparently defers off of what we're talking about. And
Which will we be readdressing that further through this evening. So as it comes along, right now, we understand the 100% ownership between the district and the non-district. Does everybody understand that?
Yes, and I understand that the annexation applies to non-district regardless of changes,
Correct.
Change in order.
Which was one of my questions, and you got that answered. So that's where we're at right now. There's only a few more pages to ordinance number 1.
so
Actually, one more.
we're gonna sort out this, the 100% thing. We're gonna talk about that later. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it goes throughout the packet, so.
Can I just see his hand? Can I just give that to you? I don't care what you do with it. Can I just give that to you?
Wait,
Okay, let the record show that Commissioner Boyd has provided us specific questions to be considered.
The bottom, the last ones, a good one.
And
The last one's the most important one for our water plant.
Okay, so just to clarify, your
And-
question on section 1, ordinance 1. Was that when going through the annexation process, 100% of the owners in the area petitioned for annexation to the town of Minturn?
No,
that your
that's nothing to do with that.
And what's
My
the,
question on number one, when the agreement was signed, that the owners say that they own 100% of the property. And the point of that being is
Yes, they do.
when Crave came in and when that other guy was claiming that he owns some property and when Eagle River Water and Sanitation, did any of that description of that property change in the last 11 years or 14 years from
100% to maybe 99% because of some of those other.
correct?
So
Correct.
no, and no, and
I like it. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah.
Makes it easy. I don't have to talk too much. Go ahead.
I mean, I'm happy to,
But the bottom one, you see what I'm saying about the bottom one? The
So
bottom one has nothing to do with anything.
it does matter if 100% change.
The last one. Last one I think is most important.
yeah, I think, some of these, yeah, I should have pretty quick answers and
The last one's
At the
pretty
time
good.
of the application, correct?
Oh, the last one I don't think is relevant to the application.
so it says number 5 and 6 on the same agreement. Which agreement? On the water line agreement?
On the waterline,
To the water
on the
line.
waterline easement agreement,
We're not.
Madam
getting
Chair, you
into it yet.
take the reins and you decide what you want to talk about.
We're working on ordinance number 1. Ordinance number 1 has very little, if anything, to do with water at this point. So we're going to skip that question at this point. Yes. And we're going to go on. So do you have anything else on number 1? Ordinance number 1.
the 99%, we're just gonna roll with.
No,
We'll
I
talk
think
about
we
it.
have that as an open question for Mike Sawyer, whether between since this ordinance was signed 2011 to now, were there any discrepancies in this 100% ownership?
That's correct.
Like, did any other partial owners come out during all of the GIN discussions, all of that, that would change the 100% ownership in ordinance number 1?
and
I think that's what Mike is trying to
That is
articulate.
correct.
and
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's discrepancy in the agreement, and they agree.
Correct.
that is a question that I think can be passed on to the applicant.
Okay.
I don't know that it's really part of their burden of proof, but it's a legitimate question to ask. And they can be made aware that you would like information on that topic at the next meeting.
Exactly.
I think,
Okay,
yes, thank you, Mike. I just think you as our attorney,
thank
do
you,
you know
Mike.
the answer? It's important.
Well, Michael doesn't seem to know the answer, but he will
I
pass it.
didn't know it now. That's what I started.
He'll pass it on, and
Yeah.
hopefully we'll get an answer back. Correct?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Daryl,
Basically, I only had the one that with the annexation impact report. I'd like to see that as well, but as I recall, back then, I wasn't on the council at the time, but I was on the council prior to everything going, the talkings and the mitigations beforehand. And there was, I don't recall anyone objecting, even the citizens that lived up there. They were in fact in agreement because of the idea of their water rates would be going down, for one thing. And also at that point, we had a little bit better police protection and the like. So there, it was pretty much a 100% agreement by everyone up there. But I don't have any other questions with this ordinance number 1.
I don't actually have a question, but I'd love any history. If anybody could tell me anything about the Arminda ditch, I don't remember ever hearing of that before.
It is a pretty senior
far
water
back?
right.
I'm sorry,
18.
It is a pretty senior water right that diverts off Cross Creek, and I mean, this probably goes back a long, long time, but historically irrigated portions of the property now owned by the school district. And in fact, they use the Arminda ditch today to irrigate the ball fields in the area around the school. So it's just
How,
an old water right.
Oh,
I think it said it was like 1890 something was the water right. It was crazy. It's in one of these ordinances.
Super old, yeah.
1892.
Boom, you and me.
and then would it be bad to ask how long the school district actually has owned this property?
I mean, at least going back to 1964, because there's that agreement between the town and
Got that.
the school district.
Is it in here? Yeah. Amanda caught 1916 in our paperwork. She was good.
It could be, yeah.
Okay, that's a long time. Yeah. Did this town even have a school district back then? Okay, so we're done with ordinance number 1. Anybody else? Okay, ordinance number 2. Amanda,
I have 0 questions on ordinance number 2 for you, Mike.
Eric?
I guess I just have one that, I guess it's in ordinance number 1, but it repeats throughout the paperwork. It's just like the whereas statements, whereas it says, whereas the town council of the town of Midturn determines that it is in the best interest of the town of Midturn to annex said territory of the town, or maybe it's on the other one, sorry, back in 1, where it says, the town council hereby finds the terms declares ordinance is necessary and proper for the health, safety, and welfare of the town of Midturn and the inhabitants thereof. Is there any leeway that we have any kind of say in that, or do they have just 100%? They can do what they want with it if it is in a mixed use area.
Well, it references those health, safety, welfare, and, benefits to the town, because those are requirements in the state annexation statute to legally allow an annexation to occur. So they were findings that the town made in 2011 to annex the property. Those are not necessarily continuing standards for the consideration of a subdivision. Under the subdivision code, you have a separate set of criteria that guide you. So think of the items that you listed as things that the council had to make findings on 13 years ago to annex the property. That has happened. What guides you now is your subdivision code.
Okay, so that's okay. And that could impact the town in certain ways, the health of the town or the traffic or whatever, all that kind of stuff. And that could be things I could bring up or we could bring up.
That was considered in 2011.
Okay, so
That's what Mike is saying.
that's just in.
And as part of an annexation, and at that time, that's why we also have a zoning ordinance that went along with it, and specific references within the annexation agreement that talked about the types of uses that were going to happen as part of the annexation. So that typically relates to the impact report. There's generally an understanding when you annex a property, the type or range of uses, residential, commercial, those types of things. So there is some consideration of how it affects the health, safety, and welfare. And the health can be anything from economic development, property taxes, sales taxes that benefit the town, to the provision of additional parkland or things like that that the town wants. Those are all things that happen during an annexation. And that's why that's, boiled down into 3 words: health, safety, and welfare.
Yeah.
That was considered in 2011. That's not necessarily what you guys should be considering when you look at this. We're not relitigating the annexation.
And so Scott and Madison's staff report will detail the code, the subdivision code, and the provisions that apply and the decision-making standards. So you'll get the criteria by which to evaluate this the application when it's actually in front of you for a public hearing.
Michael, anything on ordinance number 2?
Well,
Ordinance number 2.
Yeah, ordinance number 2, back to the 100% ownership. I understand that the meeting tonight is to explain to us the process and what we currently have agreed to. And again, maybe the 100% ownership, if that ownership is changed in any way, or it wasn't 100%, I think it's important, not specifically for us, maybe for us as citizens, but I think it's important for our attorney to figure that out.
Can I just interject? And this is more of a question for Mike. I think I understand your question, Michael, specifically your point about whether or not any claims have been made. But again, at the time that these were being considered and acted upon by the town council, and at the time that, as Mike said, there was a petition to annex, there was a determination at the staff level and then completed through a public process that the petition was complete and adequate to allow the town to then advertise for an annexation hearing. And then they decided on the annexation. At that time, in order to petition a certain way, there had to be 100% ownership. So I don't know why it matters today. If there's, I don't know anything that would tell me that they don't own it 100%. They haven't represented that in any of their application materials. Not that we want to go there, but I'm just trying to figure out, is that even a relevant question, or does that have more to do with the time of annexation petition? They were 100% owners.
No, I respect that explanation for sure. And the only reason that I bring it up is because as we get further into this process, as our attorney reviews things, and for some reason there's changes to be made that we disagree upon, that whether or not they've made changes in regards to this contract and we didn't specifically agree upon, mainly it's just for Mike to figure it out, if he or take it into consideration for his legal thoughts, if ever needed to think about it. That's the only thing that I mean by that.
Well, I think that you've indicated that's something you want to know more about. That will get passed on to the school district. They can present you with information, and if, and I stress the word if, it is relevant to the criteria under your subdivision code for processing this application, we can talk about it at the next meeting.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know when I started out my conversation, I don't know if a lot of this stuff is something that I specifically want to know about. I just think it's something specific that are, that if some of this stuff differs, that you as our attorney and our counsel should probably be aware of it, just as general knowledge. I'm not I don't.
Could I maybe say something simple? I think what he's saying is he'd like to have us currently confirm that there's still 100% ownership by the school district. Is that correct?
And I think what he's alluding to is that there could be this, we could be looking at full houses in here where we're empty right now. And that's what we're trying to avoid. I think we just want to make sure we know the answers.
All right, so that's been teed up, and
Thank you.
that will be passed on. One of the items in the packet you'll see is a title commitment that bears on this question, but we'll discuss the substance of it at the hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Daryl?
No.
And I'm fine also. So we're going to ordinance number 3. Page 20.
You want me to start or do you want to do it? I'll start. Okay. So the first question I have is that the property was previously zoned, and this is on page 22, is previously zoned resource. This is just from a historical standpoint. What is a zone resource, like just for my
30
knowledge?
35 acre zone district in Eagle County.
Okay, and does it have any uses by right as what it was previously zoned?
Yes,
And what were those uses by right?
there are multiple,
Okay.
all sorts of residential, single family, duplex, accessory dwelling units, a number of agricultural uses, including accessory structures and agricultural uses, several special use categories within the county zone district that would allow for everything from resource extraction, mining,
Yep.
to landscape contractor yards to, I mean, there's a number of things.
And then with that zone resource that it previously was, and this is just again to conceptually understand, what did were the uses by right in ordinance 4 like all of them carried over? Because some of them weren't carried over, if
I would say
majority were not.
none or maybe one. If resource zone district in Eagle County, having worked at Eagle County in 2011, I think there was a single family land use as a use by right in resource.
Okay.
There still is today. As Mike pointed out, there are a pretty short list of allowed uses within the mixed use zone district that
Got it.
got adopted.
Okay.
Including single family, duplex, multifamily.
And I would add, I mean, so the school district facilities, because zoning really didn't come into play in Eagle County until probably the mid-70s. So whatever was on that property the day that they enacted zoning would have been considered pre-existing non-conforming and allowed to stay on the property. But what's important to you is they annexed into town and we changed the zoning.
Yeah.
So that the county zoning today, I mean, it may be historically informative, but it has no bearing on what they can do.
No, on the decision for like in front of us. I just wanted to know from historical what the uses uses by right were previously versus underneath the ordinance 4.
Yep.
Got it. My next questions, I don't think ties to the application, but it's more on recitals H and I with conveyance. And this may be included in the application, but did they occur? Most specifically, the meet the wilderness, which was the 1 acre, because in recitals I, it says they had to, but then on page 8, it says possible conveyance. So I was just wondering, like, there's conflicting language within the ordinance on that they had to do that conveyance versus possible.
So the 18 acres was the conveyance of the town's
Yep,
property.
that one I'm sure. And the second one was the.
I'm sorry, Amanda, you were referencing some recitals. What can you help me orient where those are at?
So page 22 of the 63 on our packet was recitals I. So there were like 2 conveyance recitals, H and I. Scott just confirmed that H was the conveyance of town property, the 18 acres for the water plant. The second conveyance was I, which was to meet the wilderness, a Colorado nonprofit. On that page 22, it's that this was a true requirement of the annexation agreement. But then further in the annexation agreement on page 27, it was a possible conveyance. So it looked like it was optional. So I'm trying to understand because the conveyances could come up in the application. And so trying to understand whether it was a true requirement or not a requirement.
Well, I can tell you it has never happened. They would have had to have gone through a subdivision process with the town to create a 1 acre parcel. And that has not occurred. And okay, so I see recital I, and then you're referring to some additional language in that agreement. And Amanda,
Yep.
Unfortunately, I don't have the PDF up. I just have the.
No, you're okay. So it'd be page 8 of the ordinance.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it's section 4.3 and it's development and control of development section.
Yep, got it.
And there is said it made it an optional conveyance versus in the recitals, it was a directive.
Well, in the recitals, it says, whereas district may in the future complete
Yeah.
conveyance with.
which property if so can be able to use for education related. So it does, I mean, it's just the languages, and so I'm just trying to figure out whether it was a condition of like the conveyance, because those could be part of the impact reports and the type. So that's all I'm asking.
So of important note, having included that language in the annexation agreement did not effectuate some kind of subdivision of a 1 acre parcel. So it didn't create a parcel.
Okay,
It had to have come in for an additional subdivision review to create a 1 acre parcel. That never happened.
okay,
And I see this frequently over my years of doing town attorney work. There's some hot button issue and people want language in or an ordinance or an agreement that talks about something because they think it's going to happen, and then 5 years later it's in the history books and never happened. And I think that's what this is reflective of. So, and I don't think I would not interpret that language as creating some kind of mandate to give 1 acre to that nonprofit. I guess they wanted it in there so that everybody was on notice that that was something they wanted to do, and that probably the town was signaling we don't have a problem with it. But the subdivision never occurred and no conveyances happened.
Mike, I don't mean to throw mud in this conversation. Would that have been the fitness center, which is also 1 acre? Could that have been?
that's not a nonprofit.
The-
Understand.
At the time, was it at middle school?
I don't know, I'm just asking.
I thought the fitness center came out of Battle Mountain's property, but again, that happened
It
before I
did.
became the town
And
attorney.
at the time, it wasn't the Vale Ski and Snowboard Academy, it was the middle school, if I'm correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Alright, so
don't
didn't
know.
muddy the water there.
My understanding is that the rec center is on land that Battle Mountain dedicated to the town, not school district land.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
What page we're on?
We're on page 22 of our
And
packet.
it's Eric's turn. No, we're on ordinance number 4. No,
Or
or
ordinance
number 3.
Do you want to go page by page? I mean, I have like so many.
You still have things on ordinance. 3. On 3.
Oh, yeah.
This ordinance number 3? So we'll go page by page.
She has more, so we're gonna let Amanda finish.
Oh, what page is she finishing on?
I am gonna be finishing ordinance number 3 finishes on 49.
Yeah,
Um,
because I have some in 23 too.
Okay, we can maybe go, I mean, if you want to do page by
Let's
page.
do page by page. It'll be clearer for everybody to follow. Does anybody else have anything on ordinance number 3, page 1,
Page 22.
Page 22.
page 20?
20?
No, page 22.
Right.
Oh, 20.
They, ordinance number 3.
Oh, got it.
starts, and they haven't asked yet.
Got it.
You have. So do you have anything on page 20?
No,
Anybody? Does anybody have anything on page 21?
no,
Anybody have anything on page 22? That's where Amanda finished.
no.
Daryl?
No,
No.
just a second. No,
Let me just double check mine. I do not either. Page 23, Amanda.
So recital number K, so it'd be 4 of the ordinance 3. It references the town's community plan. When we look at this, Madison, like, is this the community plan of 2011 or the revised of 2019?
The annexation agreement obviously references the community plan at the time.
Correct.
When we look at the application, we will be looking at the 2020.
2023 or 2019?
No.
I agree with Madison.
After I joined, so 2022 or 23, I can never
Okay.
remember the date. But we will be looking at the current community plan as how the subdivision stacks out against.
Okay, so you guys are using 2022 and that's what we should use, okay. And then the next question, which may be a historical question, is was there a reason why there was no distinction between district and non-district residential dwellings. And this is in Article 1, annexation and zoning of the property,
Page 23, then?
still 23.
Okay, so in Article 1, is it section 1.4 where it says zoning?
Zoning,
Yeah.
they call out specifically for like town employees. You could only use 10 individual dwellings for town employees,
You know,
but they did,
no, wait,
it's right here.
but can I ask a question further? I thought that 10 units would be allowed on our 18 acres.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, and that's as many as we can do on there,
Correct.
right?
My question is was there ever a delineation between district and non-district? I couldn't find it within the ordinances, but whether there was any historical district versus non-district residential dwelling delineation.
No, I think that was probably intentionally left vague as to what the distinction would be because the school district didn't know exactly the degree to which this property would fit into their own housing needs assessment. And so, I mean, as I read this document, the school district could have hypothetically come to us and asked to develop all teacher housing or all school district housing up there. So it would have been all district development.
Okay.
Or in the alternative, they could come in and say we want all non-district development. I don't think it creates a mandate to do it one way or the other.
Okay, so in that, so I just wanted clarification on the ordinance. There is no delineation between the amount with the 150 or whatever this year says. There's
138.
no delineation in the ordinance between district and non-district.
I don't in my reading of this document over the last couple days, I have not seen language that would support.
Okay, I agree. I totally agree. I just want to get confirmation
Yeah.
from her.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have on page 23.
Anybody else? Page 23.
23.
Mine was just on the town's community plan, which what we're following, but that was already answered.
Michael?
Yeah, page 23, I have a question. I have two questions, but my first question is, and I don't make sure that I'm not reading it wrong, is on section 1.4, is the 41.2 acres is open space, staying as open space, and is the 18.2 acres as public facilities, staying as public facilities?
The 18.2 acres is now owned by the town of Minturn.
Correct, sorry.
So that's up to us. And the 45.6 acres designated as mixed use, that is the land of which a part is the subject of the application.
And the leftover, the 41.2, it
Is
says
not-
is open space, is that
is-
staying?
Not part of the application. It's zoned open space. There's been no request to do anything in it.
But originally it's agreed to be open space or,
And it's currently.
and it's currently staying open space. Okay, and then the last part of my question on that, which might be irrelevant, the Bolts Lake and Crave stuff hasn't affected any of what we're talking about in regards to that specific section.
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
As, I don't know if I'm gonna ask the question right.
Okay.
As designated in that section, it might be the wrong question. The Bolts Lake transfer and Crave does not change any of that. Even if it changes any designation on that section, it's not relevant to the application we're going to receive.
That has, so the Bolts Lake properties, Battle North, that has nothing to do with any of the district-owned properties, this agreement, or anything that you're gonna look at in the future.
Thank you.
in this.
No.
Not even in it.
That's what I thought I might have been asking it wrong. Thank you.
Okay.
Daryl has nothing. Back to Amanda.
Page 24. So the first question I had, it was for you just to educate like the commission on subdivision exemption. And what that means, because that is throughout our ordinance 3 and then implied, with ordinance 4 as it's linked. And I didn't get a good sense on what that meant or implied, or how we need to consider that at all when we're looking at the application.
The application that you're receiving is not a subdivision exemption. It is a full major subdivision application as
Okay.
permitted in your code. The references to subdivision exemption that are in in this agreement and also in the plat, which I'm guessing Madison included in your packet. It's called an exemption plat.
No.
No,
Well, wait a minute. The ordinance had the plat. Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry.
Yep. So it was an exemption plat, and municipalities retain certain rights to subdivide land into very big parcels without specific uses being made of them without going through a full subdivision process. It's called a subdivision exemption. Apparently in 2011, that's how they processed the plat that created 3 lots. 1 lot went to the town. There's the open space lot, then there's the mixed use lot. And it's just referred to as a subdivision exemption. But what you will be considering has nothing to do with subdivision exemption. It does pertain to tract, sorry.
tract. Yeah, they're tracting.
Tract A of the exemption plat Malloy Park. That's the property for which the application has been submitted, but there's no request for any further subdivision exemptions that you'll be hearing about.
Okay.
Is there anything else on page 24?
No, I think the other questions I had on page 24 bridge, like some of the stuff that may come in with the application, so I'm gonna hold on my other questions just to keep this.
Thank you. Eric?
I guess just that last sentence on 1.4, all current and existing uses, including without limitation, the mobile home dwelling units shall continue to be permitted under zoning for the mobile life park character area. So as we do the zoning, I'm not sure if mobile homes are any part of the zoning plan of the town.
Community Plan 2022,
Absolutely, so those will still be permitted no matter.
based on.
What was the question?
So
Agree.
Page 24, the last sentence of the top paragraph.
I did.
Inconsistent, the rest of us.
So you
Understood.
can ask the school district in the meeting what they intend to do with the mobile homes. That's a legitimate question as part of the subdivision application. What that sentence says is that the mobile homes that were there are pre-existing non-conforming uses and they're allowed to stay.
At the period of time that this was made.
And it would
And
still
moving
apply.
forward.
But it will apply today.
It would still apply today regardless of
Mhm.
But this is essentially recognizing a pre-existing non-conforming use.
Got it.
Michael, page 24.
Oh, on that same question, before we go off of that same question with the pre-existing, we don't have to list those pre-existing conditions in the use table. No, okay, thank you. Back.
No, I have nothing on page 24.
Daryl?
I have a question actually, section 2.2 about the water system infrastructures. Is there, maybe this is more for Scott, is there a secondary water tank above I'm gonna call it the middle school building? And if so, we have to maintain that as well as the systems going to it.
Secondary water tank?
There is a tank, and you can ask the school district about how that tank is going to be enlarged or maintained. It is a topic that's being discussed as part of the water treatment plant project for the town. I don't know that I have more information at the current time, other than I would say that the town has agreed that it can provide service to this property subject to certain upgrades, which will be discussed as part of your application. I believe there's some kind of pump and a enlarged pipe under the river, but again, you can get into that when the hearing happens. But that the town agrees that it has the ability to provide water to this subdivision.
Okay, and that water tank is included in the subdivisions supposedly.
It's part of the infrastructure requirements for the subdivision. So again, as part of your preliminary plan, there's the plat part. So, you know, that shows the individual lots that would be created. Then frankly, the larger portion of the submittals are a bunch of construction documents. They're the engineers saying, here's how you design a road, here's how you design a sewer line, here's how you put the water system in. That, again, when you get the application, it will have 5 or 6 sheets about the water system that will enlighten you as to what needs to be done to serve this property with water.
Oh, okay, that clears it up. Thank you.
Page 25, Amanda.
So again, I have a couple questions that I think you need to hold until we receive an application or whatever the thing is. The one question I do have is on section 2.4, Arminda ditch. Number 2, the conveyance to the town. Today, does the town, do we do all operations and maintenance and administration duties for that Arminda ditch water?
No. And we don't do anything. The school district owns the ditch. They use it to irrigate their ball fields and stuff, and we have nothing to do with it today.
Okay, and I'm looking just at number 2 where it said that we would assume all operations, maintenance and administration duties with respect to that.
If it was
The,
conveyed.
But
If it were conveyed.
yeah, the outcome of the Arminda ditch will be the subject of a subdivision improvements agreement that will be negotiated at the time that a final plat application is submitted.
okay,
It is not currently something that is part of the preliminary plan application.
perfect, thank you. That was it for me for page 25.
Eric, nothing, Michael,
Nothing.
Daryl,
Just a question of location. Where is the Amanda ditch? Where does it come out of Cross Creek?
My understanding is that it is above the town's pond, and pipe that comes out of that pond to feed the water plant, that it's above that. But to be honest, Daryl, I unfortunately have never walked up there, so maybe we'll have to do a site visit at the appropriate time to walk through the pines and go look at the ditch.
Heard that it's a pain to get out to the ditch. There's a lot of overgrowth.
It is above the,
whoever was the helicopter, please. Yeah.
it is above the pond, the dam that we have. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct.
Okay, I have an idea where it is. Okay, thank you.
Page 26. Amanda,
So this is more of a hypothetical, because this was a little bit on the table, I think, a few years back as part of the town's options with water. There was discussion about porting in water from the confluence through Eagle Water and Sanitation District. What portions of this water section, which I guess started on page 25, or a little bit further back, but really calls out in like page 26, what portions, if any, would change or be augmented if that source was updated to get from both Confluence and Cross Creek.
What I can tell you is that since I have been the town attorney and participating in water discussions, so both about the treatment plant and about the water rights for the town, we have always included the 138 units under this agreement
Got it.
as being within the number of SFEs of service that the town needs to ensure that it can provide without triggering a need for an Eagle River supply. We've always factored it into the baseline levels of a system that can run exclusively on Cross Creek.
Okay, thank you. You read between my lines, which I really appreciate. Thank you. That's it. That was, well, I mean,
On page 26.
yeah, I'm just, no, I think we got some answers on the non-district. Oh, I guess no, this is also for you guys. So if the non-district development comes through separately than the district, does it get reviewed the same? Do they get reviewed underneath the same? I guess just underneath ordinance number 4, like there's no delineation.
So if we go to,
And this is really section 4.1, future development with between the district, and then there's a statement in here, any future subdivision review of non-district development should be based solely upon conformance with the applicable design standards as required by the municipal code. It does reference this, and that's where I'm.
this gets over onto the next page down at the bottom, 4.3, development and control. And the last sentence, and I'm sorry, my pagination is different than yours. So
It's okay, it's page 7 and 8.
yep. So at the bottom of page 8, the last sentence says, accordingly, the district and the town agree to cooperate in good faith in the planning and design of the development of the property, with the exception of the development of district development, submission of a site plan for which shall be made consistent with the requirements of applicable state statutes, including 22, 32, 124, as it may be amended, blah, blah, blah. So I talked earlier about how when a government wants to build something in your town, they have a different process under state law that they get to go through. It's called location and extent review. And what this says is that if the district wants to propose district facilities, and I think district facilities would be a school, facilities associated with, say, outdoor education, and potentially even employee housing, they get to go through a different process. It still comes to the planning commission and to the council for review, but the level of scrutiny that the municipality can give a project in location and extent review is less than when it happens through full subdivision review.
Okay.
And as for this application, they are requesting that we go through full subdivision review. They are not asking for any location and extent shortcuts as part of this application.
Okay. And then for non-district developments, it goes through the full application municipality, and then we leverage ordinance 4 from a zoning perspective.
Yeah, Scott Madison, I think that's right.
The language is just, the language is confusing as to whether this ordinance 4 applies or whether we go back to some of the other things that are outside of this ordinance 4 that's in our municipal code or coming down.
No, I mean, we all lawyers draft documents a little differently. If I had drafted this, I would have just said development shall be in accordance with ordinance 4, the zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
That's not the way they did it. But that doesn't mean that ordinance 4 isn't the controlling document for the uses and the lot configurations. The zoning ordinance is the controlling document.
And the way I've read this and the way I think we're certainly, as you'll see when this gets in front of you, the proposal is being reviewed against the town's code and standards, right? And, if you read further into page 28,
Yeah.
it talks about, in the event that the district determines to include within the district development any residential units, they are included in the 150 allocated SFEs. I also read different sections of this to mean that, Mike's right. They could have, for district development, relied on the location and extent process. They chose not to and come through a full subdivision review process for their development plan. If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. I'm also though looking like in the future, because this is just a preliminary plat and potentially final plat, which could then lead to more non-district. And so I'm just trying to, from a knowledge standpoint, understand, okay, well, in the future, we have a lot come through that's non-district. Does this apply, or do we go back to our municipal code? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
I would say, Amanda, that until the district comes to us and says we're doing something that's district development, assume everything is non-district. And therefore
Assume
the
everything
full,
is non-district.
yep, and the full extent of your code applies.
Okay, thank you. That's really good direction, Michael.
so we still on page 26.
I'm done with my questions on 26.
We're gonna stay on questions on page 26, but let's keep it to up to Article 3, because then I'm gonna simply halfway through. I'm gonna ask for a 5-minute recess for us to take and then come back and delve into the balance, if that's okay with everybody.
So you're talking about so we're not gonna discuss Article 4 till after the break.
Correct.
Even though I started.
Yes.
Sorry.
Up to him. That's okay.
Okay.
Okay,
But we have quite a bit more to go through, and to keep it clear and easy, I think that's a good way to do it. And get us the break now. Michael, anything on page 26? Eric, anything?
No.
Daryl?
No,
Okay, I will call for a 5-minute recess. Michael, we'll be right back. Well, I'll be right back. We don't see your beautiful face on the Zoom.
Yep.
There you are. Page 26, Article 4. We're calling back to order. Amanda,
So I've asked my questions on Article 4, page 26. I have more questions throughout Article 4 on further pages. Do you want?
let's finish 26. with
I'm
this.
good.
Anybody else have any more question on Article 4, page 26?
I have one question on Article 4.1, page 26. It's in regards to future development, where it says, limitation to engineering, safety, planning, grading, drainage, for future non-district development, would a wetlands impact report be part of the requirement there?
Into the wetlands.
Sure.
what was the question?
The question,
If applicable, yes.
if applicable.
And where is that?
It's not in there specifically, and my question was, if it was future development of non-district development, and it was anywhere near the wetlands, would we require a wetlands impact report? And Scott answered the question that if it was applicable.
Yeah, I think that's where, words like, including without limitation. And then that's, I guess, my answer, as applicable. If they were proposing something that did impact potentially wetlands, they would provide that information to us.
And is that something that we would request if they hadn't? Could we in the preliminary plat?
If our code requires it, they would have already,
Okay.
you'll see that.
Okay, thank you.
We've already done all the reports.
Right,
And-
and as you recall, our language that we are asking for in the new code allows you to ask for those things if staff makes we're getting into the weeds a bit of the
Yep.
existing code requirements. Which for certain developments allow for a preliminary environmental impact report, which is different than what this is,
Yep.
right? And then in the new code, I think you had made a recommendation that if the staff makes a determination, the planning commission can ask for additional information later during a review of a development. That's right. That's not what we're talking about right now, I don't think.
Yeah,
And then, no, I don't have anything, Lynn.
Okay, page 27, thank you, Gail. 27, Amanda.
This is page 8 for you, Mike.
Okay,
It's the third paragraph. It says, in the event the district leases or otherwise authorizes third parties to use buildings or facilities within the retained property or otherwise materially increases its uses with the result that there is a greater demand on town services. So this is district, the way I interpreted this question, and I want to just make sure I'm interpreting. So the district increases their use with greater demand on town services through a lease, then that leasee has to subsidize or pay the town for that increased cost. Did I interpret that correctly?
yeah, I think that's right. And I mean, I would assume this relates to the school building and what if they put a use in there, leased it to a third party, put a use in there that was more intensive. Really, the service that the town provides is water. And so I think this was to give the town an opening to reevaluate what the water service requirements are at the school.
Okay,
And then there's some language in there about property taxes. The school district doesn't pay property taxes. Nonprofits don't pay property taxes, but I guess conceivably the school district could lease the school building to a for-profit entity for some use, in which case the town would want to start getting property tax at that point.
okay, so today, if the school district leases that property to a nonprofit who increases the volume at that school, materially different than the way that school operated in 2011, then would that leasee be accountable for some of the, I guess, road maintenance or material impact?
Well, right now, the school district maintains Molloy Park Road.
But in this document, the
We
town-
will eventually take ownership of that.
we take ownership, and so my question again is, the school operated at one point in 2011. If it leased it and now it operates at a different point, does that leasee have? Are they liable for some of the costs, the material costs for the material increase in use?
I think this paragraph holds open the possibility that that could happen, but again, I'm not. I mean, we're speculating about something that isn't occurring today and may never occur in the future. And I guess I'm not sure exactly where I would want to put the boundaries around that till I saw what the changed use was. So.
Is it have to be a changed use or just a mere material increase?
Well, it does talk about a material increase, yeah.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
And then we already talked about the conflict with that earlier.
Page 27, Eric, anything? Michael, page 27 of our packet.
but I don't know if we have the answer to the question I have on page 27, because it sounds to me like what's gonna end up coming in front of us to start with is gonna be a subdivision plat. And that's how everything usually starts, and the only question in regards to page 27 that I had a question on, paragraph 2, you know, was if there was any intention, to change the score at this point, but I don't think that, like I said, now that we've gotten through this a little bit more, I believe that
We don't have that answer yet.
I believe the first thing we're gonna see in our application is a subdivision
Correct.
plat. Which, no
Daryl has nothing.
questions. Sorry.
Daryl has nothing. I sort of had a similar question to Amanda's, so we're okay there. The other question is, what is Meet the Wilderness? It's a nonprofit organization that does what?
It still exists.
And does it still exist, and what is 1 acre? But that's something we don't need
I
to.
think serving kids out into the wilderness.
On 1 acre.
Okay.
That's what I think there was.
Page 28, Amanda?
It's like
A bear reintroduction program with meet the bear in your backyard and just
Had the wolves.
I think you guys answered, like, there's reference to the Minturn Municipal Code. It's not the code of 2011, it's our current code. And that's in the top paragraph on page 28. So that's the code that we should be referencing. It's the current code, not the code that we're working on, but the current code. And that's in the top paragraph. So I think you guys already answered that question. And then I wanted to understand if there's a difference on section 4.4B. If there's calculation here on how they're calculating the FCE, if we have a significant different calculation in today's code, or is this calculation still true that was in this ordinance?
I think it's close.
It's pretty close. Yeah. So it's not to the degree it's different, it's not very different. And again, remember, I guess the one difference of how we calculate an SFE under the town code today, under the utility code, is that it includes irrigation. You get, I think it's 2,000 square feet of irrigation with a 3,000 square foot house. And under this agreement, the district has to bring all of its irrigation water through the Arminda ditch. So we don't have any obligation to provide irrigation water as part of an SFE of service.
Okay. And then my last question, which is more of an interpretation. So section 4.4, item C on that page 9.
Mhm.
So that non-utility easements, it says the very last sentence, it says any additional access required by the town or applicable fire codes regarding future non-district development shall be granted by the town through the town's 18-acre parcel, consistent with the provisions of paragraph 4.45 below. It then rolls on to the next page and talks about those public utility easements. The way that I read it is that any additional access that comes due to requirements by fire district or Department of Transportation, CDOT, has to go through the town's 18-acre parcel versus the current road that is in place. Is that the way that this reads to you, or is that different?
No, my understanding of that language, because it talks somewhere else in this agreement how the parties acknowledge there's only one way in, one way out to this land, and it's Molloy Park Road.
Oh, you started to fade out, Mike.
Starting to tail off.
down below on page 29 under paragraph 5, it talks about access and emergency access. I think that's what Mike is referencing.
Yeah, but that also says that the increase has to go onto our 18-acre parcel, not the current road. That's where I'm like, I just want to get clarification.
I think it's only if the fire district were to say you have to have a second point of access. We would have to grant them an easement across the 18-acre parcel for them to cross Molloy Creek and have a second way in. I mean, we sent this out for referral comment, didn't we, Madison? We didn't get any access questions back.
We did, and we also received comments back from the fire district.
Yeah, so that did not implicate this paragraph.
That is correct.
Yeah, so it's not, at least with the current development application, we don't think those provisions come into play.
Okay. And then I'll hold the rest of my questions for page 29 until we're at that page for the rest of the commission. Those are my questions for 28.
Eric. Michael. Michael,
It talks about on page 28. Um. The existing access to the current district facilities from State Highway 24 shall not be altered except the express consent of the district. Do we have a meets and bounds description on that access? Or will we in the subdivision application?
The meets and
There-
bounds of the access.
There is a recorded easement that crosses the Battle Mountain property, and that easement is on the Battle Mountain plat.
I saw that. I saw that.
We did a plat last year for Battle Mountain, broke that property into 18 parcels, I believe. That easement is depicted on that plat for Molloy Park Road.
So we it's depicted, the location, basically, I was just asking, the specific location was depicted, and I think he just answered the question. Thank you.
Daryl,
I had a question about the SFEs, but you guys already answered it, so thank you.
and I was okay with the SFEs also. So we're back to Amanda, section 4.5. Is that where you want to start? Page
Yeah.
29?
So section, page 29, I actually want to start at 3. It's on page 10 for you, Mike. It talks about the road maintenance. What triggers the handoff between the school district and the town for commitment of the maintenance of all the roads, streets, and right of ways? Is it like final plat? Do they have to put a shovel in the ground? Is it when they're actually constructing upwards? Is it OTC, like occupation? Like, what is the trigger? Because there's not a trigger written into this component of the ordinance.
Probably through the SIA.
Yeah, we'll flesh that out more in the SIA. I mean, I don't want to get bound to a specific interpretation today, but I think I would say until they actually get building permits, I don't see why. Like, just because they get a subdivision approval that may include non-district development, I don't think the town has to take maintenance responsibility for the road. I think there actually has to be development that is built out there.
Because we can't even maintain our roads in town, so like, let's be honest.
Yeah. So I mean, I that's not my binding interpretation. We'll, I guess, confront that at the time that we do the SIA, but we're not gonna, the town has no interest in taking maintenance responsibility for that road any sooner than it has to.
Agreed.
Next,
That was it for me on page 29.
Eric.
I just had a question on the access road, but I guess it's already been done to where they don't need another second access road, but I guess that's not part of this anyway right now, right?
Michael,
Yeah, I think I sort of agree with what Eric said. I had a question specifically on the access road that, reading the thing, we agreed that we acknowledge a single point of access. Which I think we can completely comply with. I don't think we can speak for what CDOT requires, but I don't think that that's a point of discussion for a subdivision application.
Well, so I mean, again, you're going to hear in the public meeting about this application. There will be information about access, and there will be referral comments from the fire district, and you'll be able to read those, and you can ask questions of the applicant about that. That's a good time to do it. Eventually, this applicant is gonna have to get a CDOT access permit because the amount of traffic that they're putting onto the road as a result of the development exceeds 20% of the current traffic. And whatever CDOT decides has to happen down at the intersection of Molloy Park Road and Highway 24, that is a CDOT deal. The town doesn't get involved in that. That's their highway. So the access and what happens down at that point, that will eventually get raised, but it's not going to come to you.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Daryl?
Just a question, clarification. Section 4.5, is that just talking about what the town can do in the 18 acres in reference to the water treatment system?
Yeah, so it talks about that they're going to convey the 18 acres to the town, and then it contains some contractual limitations on how the town can use that property. And
So it's
again,
basically
I want to stress that 18 acres is not part of the application that you're going to hear about.
Okay, that's right, that's right, okay.
Okay. Page 11/30.
I have nothing on 11/30.
I do not either.
No.
Michael?
No.
Daryl?
I don't.
Page 12/31.
No question.
No questions.
No.
Michael?
No questions.
I'm good.
Somewhere in here, I have on page 31, it speaks about public hearings. How many public hearings can we think we might have?
Hard to say.
We still don't have any idea. Okay.
Are we limited in the number of public hearings?
No.
Right now, we have advertised that you will hold a public hearing on December 10th and that the council will hold a hearing on December 17th. That does not bind you to hearing this application in one hearing. It's our attempt to dual notice, which we've done before, in the event that you do get it through it in one hearing.
This is for the subdivision.
Correct.
It's
We noticed
preliminary plat for the subdivision.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was my question on page 31. And everybody else said no to that, correct?
I didn't have anything up.
Hey, I just have a follow-up question to your question because I didn't specifically understand or remember specifically. So if someone puts in for a subdivision, it comes in front of us for a preliminary subdivision, and then is that it on our end, or it's there?
Actually, final plat underneath the current code.
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
Final, you'll get to look at the final plat document as well.
After, as it moves forward, that's the fine, yeah, I know what that is.
So you look at preliminary, council looks at preliminary plat, and then final plat would also come before the planning commission. And under the current code, correct?
Okay, thank you.
Page 32, Amanda?
Yeah, this is more of a procedural question, I think, for you, Mike, that I just didn't know. So miscellaneous section 6.3 amendment of agreement. So this talks that, both parties agree or have mutual consent to amend these agreements, like ordinance 3 or ordinance 4. If there is such an agreement, does that amendment have to come prior to, can it come in between, preliminary plat and final plat, or do all applications get put on hold until an amended agreement is
Yeah,
reported?
so to the degree that an amendment to an agreement is needed,
Yep, is needed, or, yeah, mutual, and it's a mutual agreement between the parties.
Mutually agreed to, I think it could be done contemporaneous with approval of a final plat. It would need to be on an agenda. It would be a discussion item. But I mean, again, and I really stress, to the degree an amendment to an agreement is needed, that can come later in the subdivision process.
Michael?
No.
No. Page 33.
Nothing.
I have one question that I believe is answered on page 43. I just want to verify where it talks about where things are being sent. Obviously, the second section needs to be changed because that person unfortunately has passed away.
Yep.
If you go to page 43, the final paragraph line says any party may specify a different address for notices by delivery of written notice to the other party. Does that cover that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can send them a notice, that hasn't been formally done, but luckily the school district and their attorneys have been kind enough to copy me on everything, so.
And it's also on page 42 that way. So they might want to you might just want to double check and have that.
Yep.
Page 32, anybody else? Or yeah, page 33, anybody else? Page 34, Amanda?
Nothing for me on page 30.
Eric? Michael? No?
No, the only thing that I had highlighted on that was back. To where it says. You know, anything that's ambiguous as to what may be considered. It just goes back into that 100% of the property, so I'm good. I'm good with that.
I'm fine.
I'm fine. And then we get to skip page 35. Page 36, don't we?
I don't have any.
And page 37. And page 38. We just jumped ahead a lot. Page 39.
Wait, I have a question on 38. When we get to the, this is more for the application because I struggled a lot with this, like this map and the current, like where things are. So if we could, like, just when we see, I don't know if,
Identify.
yeah, like put a little bit of identification when we get the preliminary plat.
That's the.
You'll have better mapping with that app.
Okay, because this sucks.
Oh, okay.
It stinks, sorry.
Sure.
Okay, page 39, exhibit B, waterline easement agreement. Amanda, would you like to start?
So I felt like my questions around this easement may be something that needs to hold until the application is in front of me. With the applicant, since it's an easement agreement with that, like with the applicant, but I like, so I don't know.
I just have one question that can wait till then also. Eric,
So,
Michael,
The only question I had, we don't on the map that we have on exhibit A and. You know, on number 1 where it says the easements shall be blank feet wide. Do we know what that, how many feet that is?
usually it's 20,
It's good to know.
but I'm not.
Cause it says see exhibit A and the page exhibit A that we have on the page prior to this. Borderline easement agreement. It says locations, but that, the only reason I asked the question is because I think that maybe you have it somewhere else. Or. We might need to figure that out, their subdivision agreement.
Scott, isn't it usually 20 feet wide enough for a front end loader to go up and down?
I guess it depends on the utility being installed. But I mean, you're right, 20 feet is usually
Yeah.
10 feet on either side of the center line, but.
Yeah.
Michael, I don't know if I can answer that question for you.
But we could
Uh,
probably
I'm
figure it
making a note. Let's talk about it internally and um, I'll be honest, I don't know if this has been already signed and may be of record or if it's something that we would need to do as part of a final plat, but we'll talk about that
That was my question.
internally.
All right, thank you.
Anything on page 40, anybody?
Nope.
Nope.
No,
No, Michael, page 40?
Page 40, the only notes that I had on page 40, which was on number 5, and it sort of rolls in the 5 and 6, but I'm not quite sure it's relevant, is all I made a note on that was make sure that stuff's still intact and make sure our new water plan location easements comply to 5 and 6 before we could design it and have to make changes. That was before I realized when we got here that we were just sort of specifically talking about a subdivision application, and that was just a note that I had made because I know we're designing it and spending money on it, and 5 and 6 is pretty extensive and relevant, and that was just a general suggestion by me, not in regards to a subdivision application.
Page 41,
I don't have anything.
nothing. Page 42, I have nothing, Amanda.
Nothing.
Page 43,
I have nothing.
anybody? Page 44, I have nothing. 45 is nothing. 46. We're now at ordinance number 4, establishing zoning on parcels of land known as Eagle County School District, Malloy Park property annexed to the town. Amanda?
So, my first question is more for staff. So we have a like a definition in the whereas clause on the community oriented building. And then that community oriented building carries over into the use table. I did not have time to confirm whether that community oriented building is part of our new use table for the code 16 rewrite. But I know that we have like the Malloy section in our new use table that's over to the left, to the right, far right. I just wanted to make sure that this definition was also in there. Sorry.
That's great. Yeah, I kind of caught the same thing and we can make sure that it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, my name's Peter like. And then
That's page 46.
that's 46. And then the other question was on the river setback. It's at 50.
No, that's Cross Creek.
It's Cross Creek.
It says river.
And it says CC, Cross Creek.
I know, I'm just
That's
looking
the
at the
river
top
up there.
right.
Oh, yeah. So that should say Cross Creek soon.
That's what the CC means, right?
Yeah.
The river setback is 50. Do we go by, like, does it then fall back to like is it the high water mark as defined in our code? Or is there a different definition because this is a separate river setback? Like, it's not defined in here.
Right.
I couldn't find it.
It does get captured in the existing code under specific setback requirements, which is where our live stream setback requirements live. It also shows up on our existing dimensional limitations
Okay,
where it's specific to Cross Creek that it's 50 feet.
okay.
So yes, it would be measured. What are you?
No, that doesn't show.
Okay.
At all.
Cross Creek Zone District does, which gives us Cross Creek. But Malloy Park does not show up within our general law requirements.
Is it somewhere else in the code though?
No. I don't know. So can you just no?
Must have-
Yeah. I'll look in Malloy Park.
Yeah. But moving forward, yes, it will.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very good.
So that's all I had on page
Okay.
46, were those two like clarifications. And then my additional question is like with which is why I was asking the amendment, if there's discussion on any of this information, like with the lot coverage, the max, because obviously that's all set here, that would require an amendment, like if there's discussion with the school district on these dimensional requirements, that would require an amendment to this ordinance if there was an agreement of anything of sort.
Good question.
That's why I was asking the amendment.
Michael? Sawyer?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
All right.
No,
Nothing.
no.
Amanda, page 47.
So, my question is on the preliminary plat, this paragraph around open space and recreation plan, which is like the third down from on this page where it says at the subdivision review that they have to have an open space recreation plan of the SIA shall provide reasonable public access to the recreation and open space zone through the mixed use zone of Malloy Park character area. So we should expect to see on preliminary plat, this being met, this component of the ordinance. Okay. And then could you provide us, staff or Mike, what it means to be reasonable public access? This comes up from some of our other discussions where someone's like, oh, well, we'll just do like a single track and that's reasonable public access, which for this area, I don't think that's reasonable public access based on what's out there right now. So if you guys could come prior, with that application, what constitutes as reasonable, because otherwise I'm gonna be making it up in my head as a commission, like what's reasonable.
Okay. Mike, do you have any response to that or?
I think it's a very good point with respect to information in this document, and I would encourage you, Madison, and myself to have a further discussion about that prior to the staff report.
Okay.
The only reason, and I do bring this up, Mike, is because what is in this document, the flat area that's considered like mixed use is all what is that public access today, that reasonable public access, the parking, et cetera, et cetera. And so it is an important component of this ordinance and what was agreed as part of the annexation.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you. Page 47, Eric. Michael?
47 is what Amanda was just talking
Yes.
about, right?
Yep.
In regards to what she was talking about, in reasonable access, a pretty good example is what they required of us on our parcels in regards to river access on page 30. It contains a reserved, non-exclusive easement for the benefit of the property to provide recreational access to the segment of Cross Creek that crosses the property, including the bed of Cross Creek and extending 20 foot onto the banks of Cross Creek. So some of that's spelled out pretty well on our 18 acres, and I agree with what Amanda's saying. Is it'd be good to try and have that spelled out a little bit better. And
There.
some of that stuff is also, what I was referring to, pointing out.
Carol?
No, I don't have anything.
You have one more?
Yeah, so this is a very similar request of staff, is that on number 5 on that same page, underneath the whereas public hearing was held, blah, 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 comments have been referred, So I guess maybe I just answered my own question. I don't have any additional questions on that page. Sorry.
Okay. With that, page 48. Anybody, Amanda?
No questions on page 48.
Anybody?
No,
Carol?
no.
I have no question.
And none of what it's saying.
I don't have it. On page 49, we have nothing
No,
unless you come up with something. Page 50 is the map.
I have one question that has already been asked. So we'll have a better map designating the different zonings, like the mixed zone, public facility zone, and the open space zone. Okay,
Those will be included in your packet.
This map's really hard to read. Madison blew it up for me and there's still some, it has to do with the lettering. It kind of blurs. So it's not that you can totally read it. So anything we can do on that. Page 51.
So this is like an exhibit B and it references a master plan in 2001 master plan from Malloy Park.
That's 11.
No, it says 2001.
Where? Oh, here it says 11. Ah, thank you.
And I'm trying to figure out where that master plan is, if it was truly 2001 master plan or what this is. Because this was prepared and it makes a statement with great deal of public involvement. And it's really quantifying or making the need for some of the. I was just asking if we could get a copy of that master plan.
I don't need that.
That seems reasonable. It was a document that would have been prepared by the school district. This was before the property was annexed into the town, so it was not a master plan undertaken by Minturn. It would have been a master plan undertaken by the school district, and I think having a copy of that as part of the packet is a reasonable request.
And then could you also ask for a current master plan too for the school district as part of the packet?
If they have them.
If they have one. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
no,
Page 52.
Nothing for me?
Page 53, use table. Anybody have anything?
I have nothing.
I had nothing except the only thing I wanted to note is that the accommodations earlier in the document, like were specifically tied to the health and wellness center. So if you had like hotel accommodations, there was like language earlier in the document that those hotel accommodations had to be for like the health and wellness center, which seemed really odd. I assume it's like talking about something like similar to like the Shaw Cancer Center, you know, where there's like,
Senior center.
yeah,
Page 53, Amanda, where it says overnight lodging associated, like you're saying, with health and wellness or conference.
yeah, like so it has to be like,
Yes,
It-
we're seeing that too.
I think that could be interpreted to be pretty wide open, but
Well, I mean, think of this in the context of the school district. If they had an outdoor education conference center up there where, you know, kids gathered and learned things and they had a bunkhouse associated with that, that would be overnight lodging associated with that type of use. I mean, I guess health wellness center is a use by right, but again, I mean, you'll see this when the application's presented. There's no mention of that anywhere in the application.
Anybody else have anything with the use table on page 53?
No.
How about page 54, Amanda?
Nope.
With that, Michael, we have reached the end.
Okay,
You were expected to take that long. That's a short.
well, we went through this in a lot of detail. I think staff took a couple notes of provisions in these documents that the P and Z is paying attention to. That does help us in preparing our staff materials for you. Scott, I don't know, you want to talk a little bit about next steps here?
Next steps will be staff working on a staff report and preparing everything that goes into the packet for December 10th in the next few weeks, so. As usual.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay,
Thanks,
have a
Mike.
good evening, everyone.
Thanks, Mike.
You too.
Number
Thanks,
8,
Mike.
design, review, and land use public hearings. Anything else? Discussion and direction items, anybody?
No.
No.
The December 10th meeting will be the subdivision then? So that will be probably the only thing on there, I assume.
Oh no, you'll have like 4 other DRBs and potentially moving forward. It's gonna be a packed.
Some more codes.
So December 10th, plan a long meeting. Please, if everybody can be here, is everybody okay on December 10th?
I will be here on December.
Last Saturday, 4:30.
You know, I have been contemplating maybe putting. Maybe the midterm forward stuff first and pulling off for at least time. I haven't discussed that. So, but as I build the agenda.
We also had talked about possibly having a second meeting in December, but on another night, did we not?
We did, that was
Rather than doing it all in one.
But I mean, the later you get in December, obviously, the more you have to juggle everybody's travel schedules for Christmas.
The December thing, so next meeting, then we're gonna sort it out, right? This one?
Yeah.
If we cannot fit everything onto the December 10th meeting, then yes, there will likely be a poll sent out to all of you to figure out what other day and it's what's best.
Prior to December 10th. We would send out a poll prior to December 10th. We're not gonna wait till December 10th to
If
decide.
we cannot reasonably put everything on. the December 10th
Right.
meeting.
Reasonably.
Reasonably. We got 3 weeks to figure that out.
So, thanks. We have that. We have 4 or 5 other applications, or they are standard applications, or are they gonna be, are they gonna be bigger than our,
Just DRB, new housing, kind of.
some stuff like we've been doing?
Yeah, in addition, 3 single family homes.
Okay,
Unless you want to give us the ability to staff approve those.
come on now, why do we want to change? I had to do it, yeah, I had to do it, that's good. I appreciate that.
Okay, so. That manager's report, does anybody have anything to say on that?
Nothing for me.
Instead, we shouldn't spend 200 and some thousand on another dwelling. No, I don't have anything to say.
Not at this point anyhow.
We cool it, like upstairs, gosh, yeah, it's.
But the time it takes to recruit, we could use that money for the bridge. Anyhow, I don't really know how all this stuff works, so don't hold it there.
I was.
Planning commission comments, anybody?
No comments for me.
None,
No comment.
none. Other than have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The November 26th meeting is canceled. And December 10th. Madison will be contacting us if there's any changes after that. May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting of November 12th, 2025.
I'll say it.
Motion by Amanda, second by Daryl, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well done.